Hi, Merry Christmas, everybody. Now, I don't mean to start a fight on the internet, but let's talk about deviled eggs. You've been doing them the wrong way, more than likely. Stay tuned, and I'll show you how to do the perfect deviled eggs. Here we go. So, for this recipe, we're starting with 12 hard boiled eggs that were placed in an ice bath once they were finished. Notice I'm using a knife or utensil to get the yolks out of the whites. There's no need to have your hands all up in your food. Remember, cooking is an act of love. And if it's worth doing right. So here's the first mistake a lot of folks make when they're making deviled eggs. They go and they separate the yolks from the whites, and then focus just on the yolks. They don't worry about the whites at all. But the whites are just as important as the yolks in this egg, and the presentation should be well thought out and visually appealing. I'm going to go ahead and move these whites out of the way for right now, but we'll come back to them later on, so they can be cleaned and prepped for our presentation. So let's discuss what should not be in your deviled eggs. Mayonnaise should not be in your deviled eggs. I know it's a big debate, but it doesn't belong there. Next up, dill pickles, or dill relish, or dill weed, or dill anything should not be in your deviled eggs. That's why folks don't like them. Now let's discuss what should be in the perfect basic deviled eggs. Miracle Whip should be in your deviled eggs, always. Mustard should be in your deviled eggs. Mustard is what makes it deviled. And the most important thing you're leaving out is butter. Yes, butter should be in your deviled eggs. Okay, so let's jump right into it. Yes, you need to mash up those yolks. I use a fork. Some folks use a cheese grater. I find that to be too messy though. So we just keep working those yolks until they're creamy. There's no lumps. They're all blended in together. Remember, presentation is a big part of deviled eggs. Now that the yolks are creamy, we can start making them better. So to make it extra smooth and extra creamy, we're going to start by adding in 1 cup of Miracle Whip. Then we'll add 3 teaspoons of mustard. And blend that all together. I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of softened butter to those yolks. Why? Because the butter is what's going to keep the mixture together. So who's noticed with your deviled eggs, after an hour or two, they start getting runny. Or by the second or third day, they're just a watery mess. That's because you're not putting butter in your yolks. So trust me on this one, 2 tablespoons of softened butter are going to make your deviled eggs so much better. Now we'll just blend in that softened butter until it's incorporated evenly into the yolk mixture. Okay, perfect. That's it. That's all you need for the perfect basic deviled egg. You can stop right here. Now I know some of you are out there thinking, hey Jim, what about the relish? Sure, you can add relish to it if you'd like to. Just keep in mind, if you're making this for a party, some folks do have issues with texture, so relish isn't needed. But if you're going to use it, be sure and use sweet relish. Not dill relish, make sure it's a sweet relish. And you don't just want to pour the relish into the dish. Keep in mind, moisture is our enemy, right? So you want to go ahead, maybe spoon out 1 to 2 tablespoons of relish onto a paper towel. Once you spoon that out on the paper towel, you want to press that to take care of the extra juice, the extra moisture. We don't need that in there. Let me show you what I mean. So now that I pressed the relish, I'll go ahead and put it into the bowl. But let's just see all that moisture that we got out just by pressing the relish on a paper towel. So there's 1 tablespoon going into the mixture, and look at all of that moisture that's still on those two paper towels. And that's what we do not want in our deviled eggs. Now I was going to mix that up, and then I'll probably add in a 2nd tablespoon as well, doing the exact same method. So once again, I have my paper towels. I'll get that 2nd tablespoon of sweet relish. And then I'll press that relish between the paper towels. And once again, you can see already all that moisture that we're taking out of that relish. Look at that. So yeah, that's quite a bit of moisture once again that we do not want watering down our deviled eggs. All right, now let's keep going and mix this together. All right, now it's time to finally fill those egg whites. But let's pause here just for a moment. I want you guys to notice how I went ahead and I cleaned those egg whites. So I washed out all the little black and green specks. I dried off the egg whites, put them on the platter, and now we can get ready to fill those egg whites. So I've seen some disturbing videos where some folks will just grab a spoon and start lumping in their filling into their egg whites, getting their fingers all into the mixture and in the egg whites, and making a big mess. Well, like I said to you guys earlier, cooking is an act of love, and if it's worth doing right. So let me show you a better way to fill your eggs without making a mess and without touching all of the food. We'll be using a poor man's piping method. You just need 1 Ziploc baggie, freezer bag preferably. And we'll be putting our filling into that bag and then piping it into the egg whites. But there's a right way to do this as well and a wrong way, right? So first I'm going to go ahead and just fold up the corner of this Ziploc bag, and then I'll put a chip clip over that corner so it does not fill up with the filling. There. Now that's done. Now I can go ahead and I can spoon in the filling into the bag and then start piping in the filling into the egg whites. Okay, so now I take off that little clip and go ahead and just cut that corner of the bag with a pair of my kitchen scissors or shears. And then I start piping in the filling into the egg whites. I'm not sure what's happening with the lighting for this video, but I just noticed that the egg filling looks really dull, almost brown. I promise you guys it's not. It's a nice bright yellow color in real life. Okay, so at this point we could be finished once again. But a lot of folks like to add paprika to their eggs, and that's perfectly fine, as long as you know why you're doing it and you're adding the right kind. So you shouldn't be drowning your eggs in paprika. And the paprika should be adding flavor as well as visual interest to the dish. So I use smoked paprika, but I use it sparingly. And if I'm putting it on for a party, I only do half the tray with paprika. I leave the other half plain. And there you have it. There's the basic, perfect deviled egg. Now, I usually create 3 or 4 dozen of these for a party, and there are rarely any leftovers. However, let me show you the effect that butter does have on those deviled eggs. I made this batch about 4 days ago, and here are the few I have left. Look at those eggs up closely. There's no water, there's no juice, it's not runny, it's not shiny. They're just as good as they were in the first day that I made them. And that's all because of that butter in the yolk. So these are, oh yeah, absolutely still taste perfect. So there you go. There's a secret to a nice, long-lasting, perfect, basic deviled egg. As always, thanks for watching and be sure to tune in next week. Bye, everybody.